This episode of Ticket Volume is brought to you by us, Invigate. Get service operations under control in no time. Get one free month of our software solution by going to try.invigate.com. Ticket Volume is on to bring you a truly evolutionary thinker in the service management space. She has co-founded 3 companies, serves as a fellow for the Institute of Digital Transformation, spent 20 years leading digital transformations with a background in system integration at IT outsourcing firms and organizations like Metso and Schneider Electric. Welcome to Ticket Volume, news and information for improving IT experiences. I'm your host, Matt Barron. And each week I chat with different leaders to share insights on service management, technology, business, and this episode, it's not going to break the mold. I hope you're having a great day. And what are you looking to learn more about? Leave a comment, connect with us. We need the research to get better. For now, though, let's begin. Welcome to Ticket Volume, Patti Blackstaffe.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here, Matt. Thanks for
Yes, my
including me.
pleasure. It was great to meet you at Service Management World recently. And I've always been a fan, of course, longtime follower. You and Greg Sanker, you definitely, I see you two in the same places all the time. So let's get right into it. You've been in this space for a while. What have you been noticing as far as trends? What has been changing? Where do you think people are going?
Okay, so what's changed? What's changed is the entire format that we look at, and we can address the elephant in the room. We're talking about AI and all that that's doing to the industry, and ways that it's both exciting and frightening. I think that service and support and customer experience and all of those pieces are moving to the enterprise. They're no longer this group of folks in the corner of the room. So I'm seeing a lot more ESM, which is important to focus on because the enterprise itself is changing, and leadership maybe hasn't kept up.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So what you're seeing is a shift towards employee service, we'll say,
Mm-hmm.
and like a backlog of work for leaders to understand what that means, how they should be leading, what they should be doing. Is that right?
Yeah, in a way, I think that, one of the problems we have is we look at leadership development as an individual thing as opposed to an organizational thing, and that's hitting us. That's hitting us hard. And the reason is because for the last 50 years, we've been relying on a management structure that is outdated, that was built for the industrial era, that was not functional for what we're trying to do. So I think that the goal is to really take a look and take a systems approach to just about everything we're doing because we are too complex now. We are far too complex not to look at the entire system as an enterprise solution.
This is how I know you're a nerd. We're like 2 minutes in and you've already said systems thinking. No, that's totally legit. I love that concept, actually. When I first learned about system thinking, that's what it's all about, right? Like, have the system so that it supports itself. If you can build something as sustainable so that it can sustain itself, then you're going to see better results overall. Um, so, what do you think? What do you think leaders need to do? What do they need to learn more about to catch up?
I would say there's 4 things, and I'm going to do a shameless plug here because I am actually writing a book series on this. But yeah, the it's understanding the shifting landscape. So we have a convergence of many things. We're talking network, we're talking speed, we're talking technologies, we're talking software, apps, economic factors, and the people perceptions and the way we work. Everything is right now on this big tectonic shift, and we need to move away, and we need leaders to understand that what we did in the past isn't going to work anymore. We're not we're still running into leaders when we do our consulting gigs that who treat service management, the way they treated desktop support when you stuck a disk into a person's machine and you loaded up, their email software, their email client. That isn't what exists anymore. A good portion of what we're doing is in the cloud, and the people we're leading, back then, they weren't that technically savvy. Right now, the people we're bringing into our organizations are so technically savvy that we're failing them with the software that we're using internally. We're literally taking people, and I call this the Amazon effect or the consumer effect, right? People who have a mobile phone and they are functioning in the rest of their lives with these slick, wonderful, easy to use user experiences, and they're walking into organizations with this clunky legacy ridiculous stuff that is delaying them. And I would tell you, anyone under the age of 35 is
Mhm.
bypassing it. Like they're ignoring it. I'm not going to work with this. It's ridiculous. I can't do my job this way. And that's a huge shift. That's a massive shift. I think that leaders also need to understand not just the landscape, but the cognitive shift they have to make personally. They've got to do the work. They've got to understand it's a mindset shift of who you're leading, what you're leading, and how you're leading it. So the whole shift then becomes, oh my goodness, these are highly specialized teams. I don't need to direct them. I need to create an environment where I'm providing the resources and the support and developing the processes so that they can do what they do best and inform me, because they're the ones who know the stuff, on what decisions I need to make.
Wow.
Okay, so
That's a
that's
good
two.
one.
But then there's the collective cohesion. We have we have so many leaders who can't figure out how to create collective cohesion within a distributed environment because they've never done it before. And so, as an organization, we're failing those leaders by not giving them training and coaching and helping them understand the tools they have can do that. I've been virtual since, well, we started our business in 2008, and I literally was virtual with the job that I had in corporate. I'm a, recovering corporate director. Um, I I was virtual then. I was sending people to 40 different countries, right? So my teams needed to be able to work virtually, and the support we did for our clients needed to be done virtually. We
Mhm.
can do this. There is the ability to do this, cohesion in a team. But there's some foundational pieces that we're missing, and we're not using the organization systemically to say we need to do this as an organization across the board. Last one. So that's four. There's the first one is the shifting landscape. Understand it. Understanding your cognitive minds shift that needs to make a change as a leader. Collective cohesion. The last one's global affinity. We are connected. So if you look at where we're connected, we aren't just our organization. We're connected with our vendors, we're connected with our customers, we're connected across the world with sometimes our partners, sometimes we're even connected with our competitors, right? We belong to industry associations, we belong to networked groups and communities of technology that we are so interconnected and interdependent. And that leads right up to governance. Like when you look at governance and ESG, they're looking at who are your suppliers, who are your, right? So that's the global affinity. What are we doing as leaders to build the relationships with our vendors, to build the relationships with our customers, to understand how the entire system works? And that's something we're missing.
Wow.
So those
Those are
four
great.
things.
Like, already, I think we could end the episode here. There's so much work to do already. Like, even just with that first one, um, getting to the new digital, understanding that it's not break fix like we used to do it. It never really should be that way, at least now, because technology is such a commodity. If something's broken, it better be ready to be hot swapped even before it broke. And
Right. We're talking about 99.99999% uptime, right? And that's an
yeah,
expectation now,
exactly. And then I really
right?
love your second point because it really drives to the heart of service and support, that autonomy, the ability to discern and to decide how you're going to complete your job on a daily basis. It not only improves how we feel about our work and improves ownership and trust, and there's so many layers to that. Those are my favorite two right away.
And I think there's something that's happening. There's a stupid conversation that keeps happening that is, are we in the office or out of the office? And it's the wrong question altogether because it doesn't matter, right? The question that matters is what were we doing before the pandemic? And that is we had teams whose manager or director allowed for autonomy. And suddenly the pandemic happens, and afterwards that autonomy has been stripped. So people are now being told they have to work differently than they've always worked. It's not like it's
Yeah.
something new. It's just that now the lens is shining in a different space. And it's I like to call it, and I heard this from someone at Gartner. I wish I could remember their name, but they called it organizational betrayal, which it is. People are feeling the betrayal of what we knew we were doing and growing to. We knew that all of us in service support knew what was coming, right? We just hadn't enough organizations that were ready to say, yes, let's do that. So that accelerated during the pandemic. But Matt, like, don't you see the same things that suddenly the basics, and that's what I call just the basics of an organization: autonomy, flexibility, capabilities, and understanding skills. Those basics are in a different conversation than they
Um,
should be. You
yeah,
know?
exactly. Don't think about like necessarily that I have to do it as an employee, but give me the tools, give me what I need to to raise myself up, to raise up the organization
Right.
as a result.
And leaders need to understand that like, let's make decisions on things that matter. Let's not get down into the weeds of what
Uh,
doesn't matter. And it's just like measurement, right? You want metrics that matter. You want to be able to, and I get that from Greg all the time. Every time we have a conversation, he brings up metrics that matter, um, because we have to really think about what is the purpose. What is the purpose we're trying to do? And if the purpose we're trying to achieve as an organization is met, and we can provide meaning for those people as they're meeting that, then any of the other stuff is side distraction that doesn't get
my
us to where we're
gosh,
going.
it's so perfect. I just gave a presentation about your IT career, and that's what it was about. Like, find an organization that wants to change the world in your way, and you're saying organizations need to find ways to make the world the way their employees need. It's like converge these two. Come on, it's time.
Well, and it's not rocket science, but we're not doing the work. So we're not committing or investing in the work that is required at the leadership level to create that value chain. It's not happening, and that's shameful because it is that leadership that unites that collective cohesion that actually achieves what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, you know, our audience is service management practitioners. They're process owners, they're incident managers, they're the people writing knowledge articles, the people picking up the phone and answering the chats. What how how do they see this? Is how do they get supported?
One message I want to give to all of those folks is that they have more power
Um,
than they think. They have much more power than they think. So, collectively, understanding the interdepartmental connection around you, like, get outside of your department and start figuring out what you can do with HR, not how HR frustrates you on onboarding and offboarding. Let's ask those questions. So that's at the very basic. Let's start looking at the connections we have across the organization and asking, how can I how can I make it better for us? And then when they say something and it's something that's maybe a burr in your sock as you're talking to them, you can ask them, is that working for you? Because I'm struggling with that piece. Explain to me why you do it so that I can understand how I can, and learning these conversations and learning this communication external to where you are so that you can figure out how to make it better for your own job, that you have some ownership there,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then at the leader level, you are a champion of your people. You are both a buffer and a champion. So let's not flow the BS down to the front lines that doesn't need to flow. Allow them to do their work. But you, as a champion, need to learn how to put on a marketing hat. Honest to goodness, how many teams I go in and I will sit down with them and I'll say, what are your wins this year? And they'll start rattling off all the cool things they've done and all the neat stuff that's happening. And no one in the
Mhm.
company knows. Nobody knows what's going on, right? So there are a whole bunch of ways to do that. Team up with your marketing team, team up with them. Find out how you can brand what you do. And that sounds silly, but it isn't. Let people know who you are by having a unique brand within your organization, and then start moving through, like, how many companies, and I'm talking about the larger ones here with money, right? So you're talking about, over 100 employees, a little bit larger. How come you're not utilizing the TV in the lunchroom? How come you're not utilizing the TV at the front? How come you're not doing, customer testimonials internally on, or asking people to write articles on how you solve their problem for you? Why aren't we, so that's the marketing hat. That's a leader has an opportunity to maybe champion a little bit broader by taking those wins. So instead of worrying about whether they're in the office or out of the office, maybe we need to start worrying about how much our organization knows about us and the good work we're doing.
Yes, exactly. That communication is such key. It's such a key element in just inspiring people, connecting people. You spoke at the beginning
Mhm.
about that global impact, global reach. I mean, that is basically what you're talking about. How do I share with the other departments this is what we're accomplishing? And
Yeah,
thinking systemically, that's another way to keep people involved, right? If you have them
yeah,
writing articles about how IT has helped me, then they're there with you, and you can ask them other questions. They have more ideas that other people see that article and think, oh my gosh, I want to partner with that team. I want to come to those same outcomes.
exactly. And on the individual level, it's really easy for us to take a look at the data, right? It's easy to look at us and care about, ticket times and, all of that. Like, it's easy to get mired in that because those are easy reports to create for the executive, and so it becomes this expectation that is off maybe of what our true
Oh,
mission is. And I think that if we're looking at always pinpointing what's wrong, then we're failing the
yeah.
team to start with, right? But what if one of your team members just happened to walk onto another floor or happened to be on a Zoom call with somebody else in a different department, and they said, "Hey, I saw that thing you did with so and so. Kudos, good on you." And they're getting that feedback external from your yearly performance review or whatever. That team member, talk about loyalty. They're going to be just glomming on to doing more and more of what's
Yeah,
good.
and they'll see they've got a future, they've got a career path, they're going to grow, they're going to go places, and they can take it to their next team that they start. And hopefully it's in your organization. You don't lose them. There's so many
Yeah.
benefits to that. So how does Global Sway help? How do you connect with teams and get them to this point?
So we work on advisory. So we start with and say, let's talk with the leaders. Let's see what's going on. Then we really get involved and we ask, for this transformation, what in fact have you heard from your stakeholders? So we go around and we do those interviews, and it's bigger than OCM because it's about teaching the executive how to be good
Hmm.
sponsors. So they can write the check, or they can show up at a steering committee meeting, or they can start getting involved as an active participant in what the transformation means. And so that includes vision, that includes what does it mean to commit, operationalize, and institutionalize this with the organization. So we'll start working with the executive first, and then we move throughout, and then we literally do team coaching programs where we invite teams together and we coach them through what this means for them. Because one of the things that we hear all the time, and it drives me nuts, it's talk about a pebble in my shoe makes me crazy, because I am always hearing, oh, there's so many resistors, there's so many people resisting, there's so much resistance. Let me tell you, resistance is merely a
There.
response, and they are responding to the level of preparation that you have given them for the transformation. That's it. They're just responding
Yep.
to you. So do
Yeah,
the work.
do the work, connect with the people. If you're trying to build a voice of the employee program, this is how you do it. Um,
Yeah.
Daniel Breston said it on his podcast. That's one of the things that he wishes that he had advised more leaders to do, to just talk to your employees, go out and just listen and respond, sense and respond. It's such a simple concept.
Well, and feedback mechanisms don't have to be, I mean, if you're clear from the get-go, hey, I'm going to hear you, I'm going to listen, we're going to take a look at everything you say, we may not use that, but we want you to know you were heard, and we will give you a reason, a legitimate reason why we can't do that. If you are transparent in that way, because transparency is the key to a
Yeah.
successful transformation, right? Then people know what to expect and know what to understand. We did one transformation. We got a 98.6% adoption rate on it, which was really rare. But the comments we got were interesting. Oh, I thought this was going to be way more painful. This is a lot
Oh,
easier than I expected. This was good. But it wasn't good because we're awesome. It's good because they were prepared. They knew what to expect. They knew what the journey looked like. They knew the touch points. So there's two pieces. You're doing a transformation, and sometimes we just dump the whole thing out visibly to people, even though we're doing an agile process in the back end. But the touch points that are involved, there are electronic use changes, there's procedure changes, there's all these little pieces, and we're talking about the system here, that are needed to support it, that have to be built as we lead up to that transformation. And those are touch points. And you have to engage in the touch points, not just the here it
yeah.
is.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And we kind of gloss over it. We call it co-creation of value. We put labels on things, but this is really it. That the people who are delivering the work, if they decide they already know what they want. They know what the future looks like. They're good at their jobs. They read the internet. They're paying attention. And if you give them the autonomy to then decide how they're going to work in the future, you don't even have to convince them. They're convincing you.
Well, and you learn things. We did one transformation where they had a finance group had a whole bunch of scripted stuff IT didn't know about. And had we not sat down and literally said, how do you do your work? We'd have never discovered that. And oh my God, 3.5 million customers, right? So, and that's
Yeah.
finance we're talking about, would have been hung up for days until we did a rollback. So you have to really understand that the people doing the work have the knowledge, and you have to trust that
It's
knowledge.
so good. Okay, Patti, how can people connect with you and learn more?
Okay. At Global Sway on Twitter. I am at globalsway.com. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn and connect. Tell me you saw me here, because then I know kind of where you're coming from, and I'm not apt to think you're selling to me. Yeah, and engage me in any way you want. And if you're looking for somebody to come in and talk to your leadership team, we're all about that. We'd love to. Just let us know.
Excellent. Thanks for being on Take It Volume. Thanks for your time today, Patti.
Thank you for having us. Really, having
And for
me.
our audience, thanks for
All of you.
listening.
All of my
Oh, yeah,
personalities.
exactly. All the crazy. Here I am. Thanks for listening to this episode. We've got a bunch more out there and more to come, so make sure to subscribe to receive an alert every time there's a new episode. You can also submit topics or guests. Just provide us some suggestions, because we want to be able to build this with you. And speaking of that, if you did like today's podcast and want to share feedback, please leave a review. you know that the algorithm loves your interactions. This podcast is brought to you by Invigate, the all-in-one IT service and asset management system that helps organizations with world-class IT support. If you're looking for a solution to build your help desk without headaches and year-long implementations and terrible go-lives, you're going to love Invigate. In fact, IT teams from People's Bank, Toyota, McDonald's, and many more use Invigate to manage requests, automate workflows, and provide agent autonomy so that they can focus on delivering better service. Because remember, good service is good business.